Don't you just love when a case of financial fraud comes to light years later and you can't do anything about it? Here's why Kylie Jenner becoming a billionaire ruined a generation. So, part 1, Humble Beginnings. It's my duty as a citizen of this world to not assume that others are as jobless as I am, even if we haven't been able to escape the Kardashians, no matter how hard some of us have tried. So, for the uninitiated, the Kardashians are a family with a long running reality show which has documented their lives, their fights. After Kim Kardashian, the main star of the show, grew to be a socialite, and all her five sisters are now in the public domain with their own companies and different careers. Who can keep track? And they're all mainly managed by their mother, Kris Jenner, who's their momager. As a result, Kylie Jenner, along with her elder sister, grew up in the limelight in front of those reality show cameras. And as teenagers on the internet, they also went on to post on Instagram and gathered pretty significant followings in the early days of the app itself. Unluckily for them, growing up in the public eye led to immense scrutiny and possibly heightened the insecurities that a lot of us face in our teenage years, with their changing looks, opinions, personalities, all available to be dissected online. Kylie, especially, grew her own following and was referred to as King Kylie and a lot of other eras, depending on when she had blue hair. And one notable thing was almost overnight, she seemed to have fuller lips, and this did not go unnoticed. Anyone who was online in that era, especially, would also remember a challenge that came about where people would try to pout and I don't know, suck on a cup or something so that the nerves in their the blood vessels, not the nerves, the blood vessels in their lips burst, giving them a look of fuller lips like the ones Kylie had. This brings us to part 2. Lips don't lie. Now, Kylie's new fuller lips were very noticeable. As someone who had pictures of her since she was 9 and 10, which was the whole internet, people really discussed, and very absurdly so, despite the fact that she was a young teenager, the fact that, her appearance had changed, and someone on her team had the brilliant idea to profit off of it and the attention that her lips were getting and came up with the idea of lip kits. Now, let's discuss why Kylie's lip kits and everything around it is iconic, if nothing. First of all, we all know that the massive success of Kylie's lip kits selling out in minutes was, of course, iconoclast. It changed the culture, but it did so by plain simple manipulation through the marketing. She managed to convince a lot of people that she managed to get fuller lips from her lip kits and overdrawing lip liners rather than very obvious lip fillers. However, the lip kits were very on brand for her since it was her most talked about feature and it worked. This is the genius of marketing. It's how iconic things were, and it is manipulative of her audience. But this fact has been criticized a lot in general. Number two, the actual reason it's iconic is she only marketed the products on her Instagram story and had no marketing costs. And you have to remember, this is a time when Instagram was largely only being used for sharing pictures and videos, and brands were still figuring out if they even wanted a digital presence or it would ruin their branding and image. Something that now in 2024 is non negotiable for them if they're targeting a single person below the age of 30. The third reason this is iconic is that it set the ball rolling for corporates in a whole other way. The popularity of Kylie Cosmetics and Kylie's lip kits directly indicated the power influencers and internet celebrities can hold and their ability to drive sales. Now, this was not a new concept. Well known celebrities have always had brands, brand collaborations, and sold their own perfumes, etc. But internet celebrities had had hits and misses until then. So the quote unquote success of Kylie's lip kits led to Instagram becoming the king of all marketing spaces and more influencer owned brands than we can count. Influencers also figured out that they needed something more authentic to their online presence to be able to drive sales and that they can diverge diversify out of merch and still make money. More than anything, it proved that we all get influenced. Part 3. Forbes. Oh, Forbes. This next part is my favorite because I am a geek for articles and exposés, and I was also personally offended when a 21-year-old became a billionaire. Like, seriously, do you know how much that altered the brain chemistry of my entire generation? Or maybe just me, but we'll get to that in the next section. Speaking of Forbes, soon after Kylie's lip kits was selling out, the company seemed to be doing incredibly well. Kylie and her manager, Miss Kris Jenner, met with Forbes and I think a few other publications who compile data about rich people, publish lists about billionaires, and Forbes is really well known for their 30 under 30 lists. Everyone wants to be. Getting a tick mark from publications like Forbes is widely regarded and on a lot of our bucket lists. Everyone's bucket list. You don't have to be just an influencer, an entrepreneur, but regular human beings too. This is an aspiration everyone has. So when Forbes went on to putting Kylie Jenner on their cover page with the title "The World's Youngest Self-Made Billionaire at 21," I remember not being able to fathom how someone can become a billionaire at that age. But also, the world really debated this topic. But firstly, how can someone at the age of 21 become a billionaire when the rest of us have not even completed our education? Like, this is why brain chemistries were altered. But, well, that wasn't the first concern that came up, which was her age. People called out Forbes for their use of self made. Is Kylie actually self made if she already had a huge following because of the reality show and her sisters being famous, and presumably had an entire team already working for her the minute she decided she wanted a company? I personally think these are very valid criticisms because a person with a pre existing platform, generational wealth, or an entire team, X amount of managers and strategists on their side would have a huge advantage. So the definition of self made really gets scrambled over here. For example, someone like Paris Hilton, who is also in the public eye and is now coming to be known for building a whole empire despite losing out on billions of dollars of inheritance, is proves to be a stronger story for someone who is self-made. She really did lose out on her inheritance and was cut out, and then she went on to, of course, make her $300 million empire. But regardless, both of these women have had eyes on them and a lot of publicity and have found ways to turn those eyeballs into money that can save their lineage for generations to come. But while the internet was debating the title of self made, the true debate should have been whether Kylie Jenner is even a billionaire. Literal years after putting Jenner on their cover, Forbes released a scathing article exposing Jenner, her mom, and her company for how they fooled everyone, but mainly fooled Forbes. So it turns out when Kylie Cosmetics sold a majority share to another company recently, it ended up revealing their actual accounts, revenue, products sold, etc. And let me tell you, Kylie was not a billionaire before. Her team had severely inflated numbers to give the impression that she was a billionaire and her company was hugely successful. Don't get me wrong, Kylie Cosmetics was doing well, but it just wasn't doing as well as they made it seem, which would put her in a billionaire position. And these inflated records were what they had shown to Forbes to get Kylie Jenner on the cover story. Well, you can't deny that the Kardashians have mastered their PR. The ethics of it, though, questionable. Really, really questionable. And do you know how pissed someone at Forbes had to be to not just acknowledge that they got bamboozled, but lay out everything in an expose about the people who did it? And still blame the media cycle or the sheer amount of content around the Kardashians that a lot of their audience never even saw this wild expose. And even I hadn't until recently. So one may debate that even the expose came a little too late. Jenner had years of to benefit from the cover story and Forbes' acknowledgement of her billionaire status to sell more cosmetic products and even build a lot more ventures. And one may argue the reason she was able to sell off her company was because of these past acknowledgements. But the acquisition of Kylie Cosmetics is what actually made the company's valuation cross 1 billion. And it was post this acquisition that the truth was revealed, giving her a huge check to cash out regardless. And I personally respect Forbes for seeking the truth and actually putting out the expose, regardless of the years that had passed, to prevent such instances from occurring and caution people against it at the lowest form, and at the highest form to actually call out influencers and internet celebrities for the harm they can do and for misleading the audiences in the way that they do. It's also an important step in breaking the illusionment of riches and successes that the Kardashians have built through their PR to seem like amazing businesswomen when a lot of their ventures are one, highly questionable, and two, loss making. Part 4, Winners and Losers. So, who are the winners and losers in all of this? I briefly touched upon the domino effect of the lip kits getting successful. I truly think it's the corporates who have succeeded here, where the meta for converting Instagram and Facebook into places where ads and sales are thriving, or companies who have found new ways to keep getting our attention and keep getting our money. Instagram is now an ad space, and there's no debate around it. The losers, us, I mean, we are so chronically online and consuming so much content that when people in extraordinary scenarios go viral, get famous, and as a result of it produce unimaginable amounts of money at unreasonable ages, and then keep posting about the same, and we keep consuming their content, we fall into cycles of wondering why them and not us, and how is this person 10 life milestones ahead of me when we're the same age? It's unhealthy, it's disorienting, and above all, it's unnecessary. We are not built for so many touch points and so much stimulation. It's not healthy to compare ourselves to people on Instagram for 10 hours a day and spend the rest of the hours watching ads on Instagram. Moreover, Forbes for getting bamboozled, but so did all of us for believing it. Now, let me be clear. Kylie Jenner alone is not responsible for ruining our generation, but she is responsible for the content she puts out, the authenticity she brings in, revealing that she dissolved her fillers years after cashing out on the fact that people have assumed her product is magical. It's not it. She needs to be told that was manipulating her audience and manipulative marketing. Of course, we need to be smart consumers and see through these marketing tactics. And this also doesn't mean that those who bought her lip kits should be shamed or have been fooled. We are consumers. This is bound to happen. But we are also heading towards a chaotic bubble of influencer reach, which maybe, while thought, isn't the healthiest, and the apps have had years to perfect their attention hooks, algorithms, and using behavior patterns to keep getting us hooked. There is still light at the end of the tunnel, and I know this is a never ending topic, but the light at the end of the tunnel isn't going to come from our phone screens.